about the Business Expo? I am. It's always fun. This morning, we have a wonderful panel of Texas A&M University and Corpus Christi alumni who all have degrees from our College of Business. And they're going to give you some insight into how they got their current position and how to get your, dream job. And so I'll start with Betsy Hooker. She's with Texas A&M University, Corpus Christi Human Resources. She's an HR Employment Specialist, BBA 2012, MBA 2016. Jonas Chupe is with Los Alpine, and he is the head of procurement. He has a BBA in 07, an MBA in 2010, and a Master's of Accountancy in 2012. Jose Ruiz is with the Texas Comptroller of Public Accounts. He's a tax auditor, BBA 2012, and Master's of Accountancy 2016. And on the end, Sam Longoria is with BBVA Compass. He's the Vice President of Business Banking, and he has a BBA in 2010. And I'm Dr. Anita Reed, and I have a BBA in 1984 and an MBA in 2001, so I'm also a very proud alumnus of our university. So my first question for the panel, and I'm going to let them each address a few questions, and then we'll open it up to your questions because I know you have some. Turn on the microphones. We're going to share. Okay. So the first question is, tell us about yourself, what you do, how you ended up in your current field, and what might be some plans you have for your future. I think if you hold down the mute, when it says mute, it's really the power button. Okay? So Jonas, would you like to start?
Good morning. Dr. Reed, just to make sure I'm clear, can you please repeat the question?
Yes.
I was distracted by I was concerned I didn't have my
The technology. Technology continues to be a mystery to me. Tell us about yourself, what you do, and how you ended up in your current position, and then if you have some plans for your future you'd like to share, that would be interesting as well.
Yes, ma'am. So first I want to say thank you for the opportunity. Looking forward to having some good dialogue with you all. And at the end of the event, if there are any questions, I look forward to speaking with any of you. I'm very proud alumnus of this university, and the College of Business has given me a lot of lifelong value. So it means a lot for me to be able to be here and tell you about my story. So again, my name is Jonas Chupe, and I work for an Austrian steel company. We actually manufacture iron, but are any of you familiar with all of the industrial growth that's been underway for some time now across the bay in Gregory Portland? So there are 3 big projects on the way to be 4 now. It originally started with a company I work with, an Austrian company, and there's also a company named TPCO America. That's a Chinese-based steel manufacturer. And there's also Cheniere, all in the immediate area. And now Exxon is coming into the area, just maybe a couple of miles down the road from our facilities. And that's right across the bay, just over the Harbor Bridge. So I started with the Austrian company, now it's been 5 years. I started as the finance manager, and for the past year, I've been able to work in the procurement function. When I got my education, I just knew that I wanted to have a very good, solid educational base that would help me have a very good, stable career. And I knew that business administration definitely is very, very valuable. Accounting is also very, very valuable because as a business, you want to know where your money is going. So when I finished my BBA, I got my master's degree, and I pursued the international concentration. And I've always been fascinated with European culture. And I never knew that I would ever work for a European company, but that ended up being the case. And when I got my master's in accountancy, that also ended up being a very good fit. So my education has thankfully been very, very applicable. Definitely pay attention in classes. Definitely read the textbook. You will definitely find that those things are applied in your normal day. They're not the only thing that you encounter during the day, but they are extremely relevant. And as far as, Dr. Reed, the second piece was the future, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Tell them a little bit, what did you do before Postal?
Before I worked with the company that I'm with now, I worked for Frost Bank. I was there for a little over 8 years, and I was a relationship manager, and basically I was responsible for managing different types of banking relationships. So the benefit there for me was that I was able to gain a very good understanding of how different types of businesses operate, the industries that they operate within, and it was just a very good general exposure to all the things that I learned in my degrees. So that was a very good basis for me taking the next step to the company that I'm with now. My future goal or goals, just to continue growing through the company that I'm with and learning as much as I can. And
Excellent. Betsy?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Betsy, and again, I want to thank you for coming over. I believe this is a very valuable resource, and I hope to help you. So, what was the question? I'm so sorry.
Tell us a little bit about you and how you got to the position you're in now, and then maybe what you plan for the future.
Okay. So, I graduated in 2012 with my degree in business administration. I always kind of knew that this is the field I wanted to go into. I worked in sales, as in retail, and I knew I wanted to stay in that path. So I decided to go with a concentration in management, and I did notice that they offer emphasis for human resources. I wasn't 100% sure what human resources did at that time, to be honest with you, so I researched more about it, and I became very interested with the field. So I decided to emphasize my degree in that. I decided to take an internship that will help me grow those skills that I was that were needed for going into the HR field. And once I graduated, I was very lucky to find a position as a human resources supervisor for a telecommunications company here in town. Now it's a global company. They're all over the U.S. And I am proud to say that I was able to help them. So I know they say constantly, oh, what you learn in class, we're never going to use it again in the future. Well, if you're in HR, you will. So go ahead and pay attention in class. It has a lot of law, it has a lot of regulations that you have to deal with. You have to like people because you deal with humans constantly. So those are some of the things that you want to make sure you like before going into the field. Soon after that, I decided that I wanted to keep moving, but one thing that I did realize is for those upper level positions that you want to reach one day, they do take into consideration your level of education, so definitely consider getting a master's, and so I went in for it. I graduated in 2016. After going into the telecommunications company, I went into education, and I worked for a local school district. That company, that district also helped me to learn a lot. I really like what the school district believes in, which is education, and I believe it's extremely important. So A&M Corpus Christi allowed me to really become who I wanted to be. And it has opened so many doors that would have never been opened otherwise. So I decided to look for an opportunity here. And so I'm currently the employment specialist, and one of my main goals is to help the university grow. It is currently growing tremendously, and I just want to be part of that. And that being said, I would love to eventually be the director of HR, but I have a long ways to go, but I believe that's going to be fun.
Great, thank you.
Good morning. Again, thank you everyone for being here. This is a wonderful opportunity for all students to experience and enjoy the story that we have to learn. My name is Hassan Rees. I'm with the Comptroller of Public Accounts. I've been employed with them for a little over 5 years. I didn't start here at the Comptroller. I was in retail many years ago. I worked for Foot Locker. I'm sure all of you are familiar with them. I worked as a part-timer, worked my way up, became full-time, and believed that that's what I wanted to do. Managed a couple of stores, and I was with them for 13 years. During that time, yes, I got fed up with retail. I got tired of missing holidays, missing time with family, missing everything. And when at the time I switched careers and started working for Dreyer's Grand Ice Cream and manufacturing, and worked my way up with them, learning everything there was to learn about making ice cream. Eventually, I became part of the procurement team and was a purchasing specialist at the ice cream plant in Houston. And it was my dream job. I was happy there. I was buying all the chocolate, the vanilla, the creams, the colorings, everything. It was perfect. I say fortunately now, but it was unfortunately then. Fortunately, I was part of a mass layoff at the ice cream plant. One day, everyone came in, and they laid off 220 people just like that. And unfortunately for me, I had not completed my degree. And so my goal at the time was to get another job similar to what I was doing, my dream. But that never materialized because I hadn't completed my degree. And that's where A&M stepped in. I decided to return to the university and complete my degree because prior to that, I did have a mild interest in accounting. And when I got back here, everything became very clear. I was very hungry to learn. I wanted to make sure that I was in a position that would never happen to me again. And if it did, then I would be able to land on my feet much more quickly than being someone without a degree. I got my undergraduate degree in 2012 and still had a lot of zest for learning in accounting. So I continued on with my master's in accounting and completed that in 2016. And between my undergraduate degree and my master's program, I caught on with the comptroller, and I caught on at one of the career fairs here. And at the time, as an older employee, or rather as an older employee, possible employee, one of the concerns I had was, oh my gosh, I'm competing with all these young people. There is a chance that I might not experience it right away, but eventually over time, I may be overlooked because I'm just too old. But fortunately, that wasn't the case. I was able to catch on with the comptroller and started as a sales tax auditor and have branched out to now audits in addition to sales tax and also doing motor vehicle tax, local revenue fund, and just recently, within the past year, I started doing the IFTA tax, which is the international fuel tax unit. And I'm just rolling forward with that. And I'm in a position where I'm really enjoying myself every day. I'm grateful for all the opportunities that I have in front of me. I thank the university for helping me achieve that, and all the professors. And I'll share a little story with you, just a small one, that I had my first exposure to taxes was when I was a little kid. I was maybe 4 years old, 5 years old. I have an older brother, and I asked my mom, I want a glass of milk. And she directed my brother, Paul, go get your brother some milk. And I said, okay. He said, okay. So we went, forked up, brought it to me, and he drank half of it. And then he gave it to me. I was like, what'd you do that for? And he says, taxes. And I was like, what do you mean taxes? And then he told me, this is what you want, and this is what you get. I turned to my mom, and she said, he's right. So that's my first exposure to it, and I'm happy where I am. And my future outlook, I'm looking towards continuing as a tax auditor and learning as much as I can, and branching out to other taxes as well. And if the controller needs me to learn any other taxes and start auditing other businesses as well, I'm more than happy to step forward and accept that challenge.
Okay, can I just ask Jose one more question? Many of you have heard that accountants work long hours, and that's sometimes a deterrent to pursuing an accounting degree. Will you tell them your work hours, Jose?
My work hours, currently, I work 40-hour weeks. I get weekends off, all holidays, all major holidays off. I get pretty much all the Texas holidays off, even the obscure ones. Cesar Chavez Day, Texas Independence Day, San Francisco Day. Those are the days off that I can have the option to take off. One thing that the comptroller offers that I am taking advantage of is work alternative leave time. After employees are working with the comptroller for over 6 months, they can take the long schedule. And what that is you can stagger your work schedule. So currently I work Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. I work 9 hours, and on Wednesdays I work a half day, and I get off at noon. So I'm very fortunate and very happy about that. And one of the other programs that they have is I do have the option and the ability to work 2 days out of the week from home. So that's another avenue that I'm getting ready to explore. Moving from that's one of the work hours. Those are the work hours I had, and it was a big selling point for me going with the comptroller. Because although the comptroller doesn't pay as much as some of the CPA firms, one of the biggest benefits I found is time off and time with family.
You can't have a balanced life and be a CPA.
You can have a balanced life.
Hi all, my name is Sam Longoria. I'm the VP for BBPA Compass Bank and Business Banking. So I graduated from A&M Corpus Christi back in 2010 with my bachelor's. I'm married. My wife actually got her degree here as well and is working on her master's in accounting here, and hopefully will sit for the CPA exam. So I can tell you, if you go to the on the CPA side, you do work a lot of hours. I'll say that. But in regards to me, I started off also in retail. I worked for Express and Fossil. I liked the ability to interact with people, build relationships in a sense, because you have return shoppers or customers, and so it was a great experience for me, and it kind of led me to banking. As I was working, I was going to school, so I didn't want any school debt, and so I decided, you know what, I'm getting my degree in finance. I'm going to go ahead and try banking and see where that takes me. So as I was going to school, I was able to grow. I worked for a community bank prior for about 6 years, Claiborne Bank, and it's really where I got started. I started as a teller, and my thing with at the time, he was just the executive VP, Gabe Guetta. He is now the CEO for Claiborne Bank. I told him, what do I need to do to continue to grow? Because I did not want to be in a standstill in a position as a teller, banker, branch manager, anything of that nature. I just wanted to continue to grow. So we had a goal path, career path for me in growing with the bank. So one thing led to another, teller to a personal banker to assistant manager to branch manager, and then having the opportunity to go to commercial. And so, I will say, he had advised me at that time prior to going to commercial. He said, you can go on the retail side or consumer side and stay and become a district manager and go that path with the community bank, or you can go commercial where you have more opportunity to grow, more opportunity for money. It's just better. He kind of pointed me that route. So I ended up going into commercial, and again, that kind of took me back to my opportunity to work with small business owners and build relationships. Get to, like Jonas said, learn a lot about their business, different industries. a lot of what I learned, you know, my last year at A&M Corpus Christi, went in with what I was doing with these businesses, ratios, projections, everything of that nature. So it was great to kind of put that together and realize that, you know, my finance degree is being put to work. So from there, you know, I had, you know, as a banker, you're always going to have opportunity to grow. Other banks are always looking at you and whatnot. So I had another buddy that actually worked with Jonas, Shay Goff, worked for BBVA Compass Bank, and currently senior VP. You know, we went through this organization called Leadership Corpus Christi, and so, you know, I reached out to, or he reached out to me actually, and told me that there was an opportunity there at the bank. And so, you know, I was a very loyal guy, and I wanted to, I guess, explore that avenue. And you know, because of him and that relationship I had with him, I decided to go ahead and make that move to Compass Bank, and that's where I became the VP for business banking. You know, I'll say one thing about banking. You know, it is sales. You do some sales, but at the same time, relationship. It's very big in networking. You want to get to know everybody you can, because they can all become centers of influence for you. I will say pay is great, and then, you know, on another note, you know, you kind of dictate your schedule. So, you know, that's why I'm able to be here today, because again, I make sure I handle everything I need to at work. So my goal for the future is continue growing with the bank. BBVA is a global bank. You know, we're close to $1 trillion in assets. So in the U.S. alone, close to $80 billion in assets. We're in 30 different countries. So there's a lot of opportunity to grow. And one thing I like about BBVA Compass is the fact that they're real big on technology, and they're real good about moving people within the organization. So.
That's great. Sam, you touched on two things I'd like for everybody to maybe address in some way: networking and mentors. You talked about networking with your friend, and have you? And you talked about Mr. Garrow being a good mentor. Is there anything else you'd like to say about those two topics, and then just move back down this direction?
Sure.
How important is this starting point at the Business Expo?
Definitely. So I will say networking's a big key for me. And again, the reason why is because you're going to create centers of influence. So, you know, I may meet one of you today, which down the road you may say, hey, Sam, you know, is there an opportunity, you know, whatnot, or maybe the other way around. You know, you never know. But, you know, I actually started off, you know, again, through my old boss, Gabe. You know, he had mentioned young business professionals, which Jonas, I believe, is one of the founders of the organization. So that was a great opportunity. You know, one, you meet a lot of different people, a lot of young professionals in different industries, which can open the door for you for whatever you decide to go into. So my way of doing that, I got involved with that group, and then I got onto the board, and you know, from there I just got involved in other boards, and I got into now the United Chamber, Corpus Christi Chamber of Commerce. But at that time, it was, you know, I was part of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. They merged, and I stayed on the board for them. And so with that, I was also asked to join the foundation board, which, you know, is part of the program for Leadership Corpus Christi. They do some other events as well. And then now I'm also the alumni president for LCC. So, you know, through all that, you know, it's a lot of networking, but it all paid off to get me to where I'm at right now. And in regards to mentors, that's one thing I always say. I mean, a lot of young people, they may be afraid to reach out, but, you know, I would say the higher ups in these organizations, you know, if you go out and you ask them, hey, I'd love for you to be my mentor, they're really going to take you under the wing. I've never come across anybody that has not, you know, decided to help me out or whatnot. They feel honored to be asked, if you do ask, so.
Mentoring is I think it's very vital, very important. It can be broad in scope, or it can be a little bit more narrowly focused. Either way is fine. You just got to get started with doing it. Right now, when you go to these career expos and you meet a bunch of people, that's great. Meet people, get their contact information. But aside from that, you have future networks in your classes. You have accountants, and you have auditors, and you have financial managers in your classes that have yet to be discovered yet. I would definitely keep in contact with your classmates, because when you graduate and everyone you hear about, hey, my friend says you got a job, that's a network opportunity. I've had several of my former classmates who are working in different industries. I've had a few of them call me and say, hey, Sam, how's everything working out with the contract? We have such and such going on here. If you're interested, I can give you more information. And I've fortunately been in a position where I thank them. I'm happy where I am. I appreciate you thinking of me. But keep the dialogue open. At the same time, don't forget me. I'll let you know if anything comes up with where I work. And I've had that as well. I've had some of my classmates call me and say, hey, you still a comptroller? I say, yes. I said, well, I tried this at this CPA firm where I'm working in this industry and I'm really happy. What's going on with the comptroller? And I keep those doors open. I fill them in and let them know what opportunities are available, because I know that they qualify if I have some of the minimum requirements. So networking is vital. It's important. Be broad in scope or more narrowly focused. But the important thing is to get your contacts going, keep your contacts, and just be aware of when people are advancing, and that will help you long term. I think that's very important.
Betsy?
I definitely agree with him. Some of your biggest point of contact in the future will probably be your other classmates. So make sure you play nice in those in projects. But networking is extremely important. I still continue to do networking. You can do that too by joining organizations related to your field of study. There's a local human resources society that I'm part of. I was part of SAM, Society for Advancement of Management, when I was in college, and all those are networking opportunities as well. There's also a human resources society here in the university that I believe is growing, and I definitely, for those looking to go into the HR field, that's an excellent opportunity. When it comes to mentors, like Sam said earlier, you can find a network, mentor in those upper level managers, like you said, they do feel honored that they are asked, and none of them will turn you down. And I have never had anybody turn me down either. I have been able to grow a lot thanks to them, and even though some of them are in previous places of employment for me, I still keep in contact with them. I still meet for lunch, for dinner, or whenever we meet at organizations. I just try to keep that communication. I know when we get busy, life happens, but try to put some time aside to keep in contact with them.
Networking and mentoring, for me, those two things have had a tremendously significant influence in how I've been able to develop my career. So do not underestimate the value of networking. And it's not just the action of networking, but when you network, you then have the opportunity to build relationships. And there is, I can't describe to you how valuable it is to have excellent, strong relationships with people. On the networking side, the organization, I've been very fortunate to be able to be involved in several different organizations, and each of them have provided a lot of value for me in my overall career development. And what I would do, if you haven't been making networking a focus point, figure out what you want to do with your career and find an organization that you think is a good place to at least get some basic information. And for you all as business students, those organizations are already mentioned. SAM is a very good organization at the university. Also, the Younger Business Professionals. And personally, I think that's the best place to start, because the Young Business Professionals that group is comprised of a variety of different business professionals in a variety of different fields, and they have very good information as to how you can be guided, how to get you connected to people, so they can definitely be used as a platform to help you begin your networking. So do not underestimate the value of networking. That's the point from my end. Mentorship, that for me has also been a very significant thing. I knew that when I graduated, I wanted to grow. I knew that I wanted to focus on finance and accounting. I didn't know where that was going to ultimately take me, but I made a very dedicated effort to find one person that had enough knowledge in a variety of different areas to really guide me and help me navigate as I develop my career. So I found one person, and that person has been my most significant mentor. His name's Alan Wilson. He's very involved in the community. He also works for a bank here in the region. And he has guided me as I've moved through my career. But when you find your mentor, the best advice I can give you is listen to what they tell you, take their advice very seriously, and apply it. Because Alan my mentor is in his 60s. He's still very young, but he's experienced a lot of things, and he's developed what we call street smarts. And nothing is more valuable than being able to benefit from street smarts without having to actually experience it. So he gave me a lot of advice. I applied it exactly as he advised, and I was really able to gain the benefit of that. And that for me, that's networking and mentoring. To me, those are they have a very special meaning to me because they've been very influential in helping me grow my career.
Are you ready to ask some questions? Yes? I don't see many hands going. I can ask one more of the panel if you'd like me to.
Question I'd like to ask the panel is, what's the toughest situation you've had to face in your job? And how did you handle it?
Something you can actually tell us about.
Tough question. The company I work with is an Austrian-based company, and this Austrian company never had a reason to think about building a facility in Texas. So imagine Austrians coming to Texas and figuring out what had to be done to successfully build what's now just right across the bay. If you're not familiar with what's across the bay, the company I work with this facility is the world's largest manufacturing facility of its kind. There's nothing that's even reasonably comparable to this facility from technology or from an operational standpoint, it's literally one of its kind. And you can imagine when that facility was built, there were a lot of situations where you had to figure out how to solve a problem, but it wasn't something you could find looking on Google. You couldn't find it in a textbook. And you can imagine if you try to blend two different cultures together, if you're familiar, cultures interpret things differently. So trying to also navigate that makes it a very interesting day. So for me, the toughest situation I'm not going to describe one specific situation, but I'll just very briefly describe something that developed over a course of time. When we started our facility, I'm looking at my watch because I want to be mindful of time. We thought that the facility would cost us about $742 million US dollars. Well, when we got through the end of building the facility, it cost a little bit more. It cost almost $1 billion. And that's quite a big thing. And the toughest situation for me was having to experience managing, at that time I was a finance manager, and having to try to help Austrians that weren't significantly involved in our project, trying to help and communicate to help Austrians better understand why that could have even happened. That was a very significant challenge for me, and not just for me, but my other colleagues. I'm not doing a very good job communicating this, but here's an example that I think kind of encapsulates what that could have felt like. And this experience for me was about a 3.5-year experience. When I first started, we were finalizing our lease contract with the Port Authority, Port of Corpus Christi. And so I was one of the first local employees that was a native speaker. And I think it was my second day there, the head of legal, who was Austrian, asked, Jonas, do you mind reviewing this contract language to make sure it makes sense? So I was reading it, and something stood out, and there was a sentence, and in that sentence, there was the word eventually. Well, in the German language, do you speak German? Okay, there's the term eventuell. Eventuell, I think, is more perhaps, meaning perhaps. Well, perhaps doesn't have the same meaning as eventually. Eventually implies that it will in fact happen, just at a later date. Well, that was a very significant statement. So I'm very glad that I saw that, because we were able to change the word and use something more fitting. But if that situation that came from cultural difference, if I didn't see that, it would have had a very significant influence on the meaning of that legal obligation. So I don't know if I really focused on one specific challenge, but for me, the overall challenge has been very tough the past 5 years, is learning how to manage cultural difference. And it's now very good, but it takes time, and it's something to always be mindful of.
Okay, so I work in human resources. Most of my issues are confidential, guys. But I can tell you the main root of all of my major issues is communication, which, again, emphasizes on what you just said. Communication between departments, communication between cultures. There's always something missing in translation. So whenever you communicate from one department to another or another culture, keep in mind what is it that their focus is on, what their main priorities are, and whenever you talk to them, try to at the same time sell what you're doing to them and how it relates to what their job is, how it benefits them, because if you don't, they will not pay attention. So human resources has to deal a lot with laws, regulations, rules to follow. And so everything we ask to do, for people to do or not to do, is to help them and to help the entire organization. So everything has a reason behind it. If you don't understand it, if you think it's a silly thing to do, just ask why. There's a whole lot behind it. Yes, sir.
How do you handle like the laws constantly changing?
Again, networking, joining those organizations, they provide a lot of really good information. They bring speakers in just like we're doing now. And they bring experts that explain all these laws. It looks like a whole different language when you're reading it, but they bring experts to explain that to you. Do sign up for things, magazines related to the business. You can find a wide variety of business magazines that will bring those topics about laws and how it will affect each industry and how it will affect certain departments. That will definitely help. But most of the issues, again, come from communication. So do keep in mind your audience. Another thing is try to educate others. Speaking from a human resources point of view, try to educate the supervisors on things and why is it that we do some of the things will really help them better understand and help them help the organization in general.
Oh boy. How many people here have taken fraud class? Taken the fraud class? The fraud class?
Oh, the fraud class, the accountant.
Okay. One of my assignments, the most difficult assignment I have had, basically dealt with a pure fraud claim, a pure fraud case. Every violation for internal control took place with this particular assignment. I walked in day one, and I sat down with the accountant to get started on sales tax audit. And I had not been there more than 5 minutes, and the owner of the company, it was an oil and gas company here, somewhere in South Texas. The owner of the company came in very upset, wanting to know why the heck I was there again, wanting to know why he's being audited again. And I explained that he had received the confirmation letter, letting him know that I was on my way, I was going to be there on such date. And he was like, I don't care about that, I want to know why I'm being audited again. And he started going off on a tirade. And the accountant that I was initially working with, he got up and he escorted the owner out of the room. And he apologized, he came back, he said, I'm sorry, I'm very sorry, I wanted to talk with you before he arrived, but he got here before he was able to. I said, well, what's going on? What's going on? He said, well, Mr. Reese, this is going to be a bad one. I was like, okay, well, I've seen bad ones before, what's going on? And he says, well, we had to fire our manager of the company. We had to fire him because he was stealing from the company. I was like, okay, well, that's not uncommon. It's like, well, he was stealing a lot of money over a lot of years. And we just recently found out about it not too long ago. And so there's a lot going on. I was like, okay, well, let's talk about it. And he says, okay, well, first off, the guy that was fired, he was the manager of the company. I was like, okay. He was also the accounts receivable manager. It's like, okay. And he was on the accounts payable manager. It's like, okay. And he was a sales manager. It's like, all right. And he was in charge of hiring and firing. He was HR. I was like, okay. So, is everyone else here? And he's all, oh yeah, there's a team of about 10 salespeople. And he works closely with them. I was like, okay, all right, well, there's no internal controls. I know it's going to be bad on it. He goes, oh, there's more. It's like, okay, how can there be more? He goes, well, okay, we found this guy, he was stealing from us. It's like, yeah, I understand. It's like, he and the owner go back. They're good friends. They've been working together for the past 25 years. It's like, okay, so it's a good friend that's stabbed him in the back, and that's bad. He goes, all right, so tell me more. And he says, okay, what happened was, the guy we fired, he convinced the owner of the company to allow him to open up his own business out of the same office. Like, you're kidding me. I was like, okay. how many more violations of the rules do we have? I was like, all right, so what happened? He's like, well, he set up his company, and what he was doing was, he was completing all the invoices for the work done for his employer. And he was taking one line item off the jobs and having the customers remit payment for that one line item to his company. I was like, okay, that's how he was stealing. I was like, and when customers would call, the questions, why am I remitting one line item payment to this other company that never came into business with us? Since his name was the accounts payable and accounts receivable manager, he said, oh, that's okay. We had a third-party contractor come finish that particular line item. It's good. So the customer was satisfied. They paid their bill. So he got paid. And this went on for years and years and years. And he told me that he had at least 3 salespeople that were involved with the scheme with him. And after they were discovered, one of them committed suicide. And I was like, okay, yeah, this is getting really bad. And he said the IRS is already involved. They're currently in litigation to recoup some of their losses. And he says, oh, and one more thing. Okay, one more thing. What's going on? He's all, the reason my boss is upset that you're here again is because the guy we fired, the business he had out of this office, he did legitimately get set up with the state of Texas with his own taxpayer number. And he was audited. But he convinced the boss, the owner, that that was his liability. And the owner paid it. So that's why he's upset that you're here again. He thinks he's getting audited for the first time, or for the second time rather. But no, your audit is really his audit. And he just now came to the realization that the tax liability he paid was the other guy's. That was the most difficult assignment I had, because when I actually started getting down to working with field work, they told me, well, when the guy who was fired, when he realized what was going to happen, he started shredding all of their documentation for the past 2 years to try and cover his tracks. So the period that I audited had no documentation, and the period that the documentation that they did have, he told me we can't make heads or tails of it. We don't know which is really, truly reflective of what our activity was and what is false. We don't know what's going on. So for a good 4.5, 5-year stretch, all of their documentation was unreliable. And for the past 20 and 25 years, he had been stealing from them. So that you won't find that in any fraud book. But I mean, it's amazing that can happen, but it does. And how I dealt with it, maintaining a level of professionalism with my taxpayer and explaining everything. This is what happened. This is how we're going to proceed. We're going to estimate this assignment using the best information available, which ended up being their bank statements, and using that's the most reliable, because we can account for cash going in. Everything else, we really can't. He told me themselves, invoices are no good, summary statements are no good. Their federal tax returns were all wrong. They had meetings with the IRS agents coming out soon, so that was another problem. And there were going to be a breaking statute of going back years on that as well, because they didn't have anything straight. So that was the most difficult assignment I had. And I hope there are no more like that.
So I don't know, I wouldn't say that I've had difficult stuff go on, but obviously I do commercial real estate financing, and that can get kind of crazy at times because you're working with third parties and whatnot. So my advice to you guys, anytime if you're working in sales or anything of that nature, one thing that was told to me is don't overpromise and underdeliver. That's a big thing, because I know you want to go out there and give it your all, and you may overpromise something, and before you know it, you may underdeliver, and that's just, it makes it hard for you through transactions in that nature. As a banker as well, I mean, I work with different cultures, and you know, you do see that in how different cultures react to certain transactions with commercial real estate as well. So, you know, just anytime you're doing something, you know, make sure and have a game plan, and it's going back to communication. Just have effective communication anytime you're working on a transaction of that nature. I wish I could share another fraud story, but I'm kind of in the process of working on something on that. But I will say something to that. You know, I was told, you know, I guess for the embezzlement being done, you know, you could send that person a 1099 for what they charged for that year. So that way they can get taken by the IRS and, you know, criminal. So.
Questions from the panel? Yes, sir.
Do you recommend doing your graduate study right after school, or try to get in with your company that you're wanting to move up with?
I mean, you know, I will say, like, at my bank, they help pay for school. And kind of going back to, you know, I got my bachelor's and I was going to school and working, so you know, it took me a little bit longer, but I didn't want any school debt. So if that's an opportunity, I would say, you know, get in with the company and see if they have that option to pay your school, because it's a big help.
I agree.
Other questions?
A quick addition to that. So definitely agree to the comments. That's utilize internships. Find a company that you think will help you follow your career path. Hopefully that company offers an internship. Do everything you can to get an internship opportunity, and hopefully that internship will translate into a permanent position. It is also very helpful if the company pays for your tuition for graduate school. One thing that I saw when I started at Frost, I worked at Frost Bank for 3 years before I went back and I got my MBA. Just in that 3-year period, the way I could think about things when we were talking about different topics in the graduate classes, the way I was able to think was totally different because of that real world experience I had during that 3-year period. Definitely not encouraging you not to go into a master's program right after you finish your undergraduate. That is definitely an advantage. Having that real life experience brings so much value that you don't get normally realized in an undergraduate program. So really, I guess really it's just ultimately based on what you think is best for your own situation. There are merits with both, but there is definitely a lot of additional value by having that real life experience.
Other questions? Or some music? Let's have a round of applause then for that they have a little bit of time to stick around if you had a personal question and didn't want to ask it out loud. So Kelsey, I think, wants to make some announcements.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for being here today. Our Business and Liberal Arts Expo is happening right now in the other Lone Star rooms. And please take food before you leave, get a snack. If you have any questions for me as well, I'll be around. Can we also give another round of applause for Dr. Reed as well? And that's it. Thank you guys for being here.
Can I add something real quick?
Sorry.
I'd love to throw in a plug for the young business professionals. So next Tuesday, if you have an opportunity, 6 o'clock at House of Rock, they're having an open member meeting. No cost, you know, just come out, you get to meet people again. It's a good turnout, and the goal for next Tuesday's speaker is I'm trying to get Dr. Hernandez with the CCISD or a representative from CCISD to kind of talk about the school bonds that they're looking to bring in. So if you get a chance, please try to make it.
Are there age parameters or is it just open to?
No age parameter. I
Okay,
mean,
great.
Tuesday, 6 p.m., correct?
Tuesday, 6 p.m. House of Rock.